huge whale trapped in chains on the surface of the sea. It was punished by the king for eating local fishermen by mistake. It was punished by the king. It has been trapped for 500 years. Now its body has grown into an island. The endless torture made the whale weep daily. Until this day, a man happened to be passing by and decided to rescue it. But this act offended the king. The man was to be punished severely in the whale's place. The man's name was Jack. He was the son of a farmer. A few days earlier he had rescued a white horse from the lake. But the next day, the white horse turned into a talking donkey as a token of his gratitude and brought with him 2 wonderful horses and was willing to follow Jack. Jack was not happy at all, for last night's fuss had made a mess of the wheat field and caused the farmer to lose a lot of money. To make up for his mistake, Jack got on his donkey. He was going to trade the 2 horses for some grain. Then Jack headed for the kingdom. As soon as he entered the city gates, he was met by a crowd of people. Some even offered a large sum of money for the horses. The king, who was not far away, watched the scene. The king is known to be very careful. It was only natural that he would take such a beautiful BMW. Jack couldn't afford to mess with it. He had to do as he was told. Donkey saw Jack's helplessness, so he bellowed and the 2 horses turned and ran towards them. The king was not happy and drove off after them, but he ran into a pile of flour and made a mess of his face. When the king saw how embarrassing the situation was, so he said, "If Jack is so good at what he does, why didn't he go after the fire phoenix? The fire phoenix is a scourge on the country and the people. If he could be destroyed, then he would make Jack a hero." He had no choice but to head for the oasis. Luckily, Donkey was smart. He said the fire phoenix likes pine cones, and before long there was fire from the ground. A flaming phoenix came out, grabbed the pine cone and threw it into the sky. He opened his mouth and swallowed it, so he really liked pine cones. One by one, he ate them. Suddenly the fire phoenix became dizzy. He staggered to the ground. It turns out that Jack had put anesthetic in the pine cones. Now he's got the phoenix. Just when he was happy, a bird's leg came up from behind. There is an oasis in the desert. Legend has it that there is an evil fire phoenix inside. Jack was punished by the king, forcing him to come here to destroy it. At night the phoenix was feeding. Jack happened to see it. The fire phoenix was furious and chased after Jack. He was about to be overtaken. Donkey rushed out and knocked over the phoenix, but now the fire phoenix was furious. The fire phoenix waved its wings. The flames rose to the sky. The oasis in the desert was set alight. It was a matter of life and death. Jack had to throw the pine cone in his hand. Naturally, the phoenix opened its mouth and swallowed it. Then the anesthetic took effect. The phoenix fell headlong into the lake, and so Jack managed to capture the fire phoenix. But when he saw how poor the phoenix looked, the kind-hearted Jack loosened the chains. The fire phoenix flew off into the sky and was free again and left a feather behind. Gave it to Jack, but when he returned to the kingdom, Jack was empty-handed. The king took him to the guillotine. Jack argued loudly that he had tamed the fire phoenix and that he had brought the phoenix's feather with him, but the feather had lost its luster. It looked like chicken feathers. The king was not convinced and ordered his head to be cut off. Just then, the feathers on the floor changed. Not far away in the sky there was a flash of fire. It was the fire phoenix. It heard Jack's whistle. It circled over and over the kingdom. Finally it landed on the highest tower. The subjects were shocked at the sight. Jack was a hero. The king saw the change in the situation, took the stage and gave Jack a knighthood. But the king wasn't going to let him go. He gave Jack his orders again, to go north to the coldest place in the world. There was a castle of ice and snow. In it lived a princess. The king asked Jack to go and help him with a match. Jack was forced to set off again. A man and a donkey climbed to the entrance of the castle. Seeing no one at the door, Jack walks through with impunity, only to run headlong into a wall of air. It turned out to be a wall of magic. When the feathers of the fire phoenix flew out, and it stabbed at the door, then the next second the door melted away, and washed away Donkey, and Jack went into the castle, and found the sleeping princess. When the princess heard Jack say the king was a rich young man, she immediately got up and wanted to go with Jack. But how do you get down from such a high castle? The princess suddenly went mad. She took Jack and jumped straight down, and the donkey saw him. The donkey flew down with her. Suddenly wings sprouted from his body to catch the 2 of them as they fell. Jack then managed to take the princess back to the kingdom, but the wary king still wouldn't let up. He said there was a huge whale in the sea to the east. This huge whale has been trapped in its place for 500 years because it accidentally ate a local fisherman. But the king wasn't about to let it go, so he sent Jack to destroy it. Seeing the whale in pain, Jack couldn't bear the thought. He decided to save the whale. He got on his donkey and flew straight in towards the whale's nostrils. The whale's interior was glowing with light, like stars in the night sky. The donkey carefully stretches out his wings and touches the inside of the nostrils. The whale is made to sneeze. It slowly lifted itself up, one by one. It bursts the chain, and then, with a spurt of its head, and out came a man and a donkey. Then, from the mouth of the gathering spirit, dozens of human capsized boats came out. So this was the whale's domain. The fisherman had trespassed on its territory by mistake. Then Jack came ashore. A crab brought a ring. It was a gift from the whale as a thank you. Now Jack was a complete hero. He was loved by his subjects. Jack had only the princess in mind. The princess was in captivity. The old, ugly king. The princess doesn't want to marry him. Jack was his prince. In his anger, The king put the princess under house arrest. Jack sneaks up to the princess window, but the minister saw him. He was arrested. The next day Jack was to be tried. The king brought in 3 boilers. 2 of them were boiling. The middle one was filled with ice. If Jack could jump into all 3 boilers, then the king would recognize him as a hero. Jack knew that this time he would die. After confessing his love to the princess, the king pushed him down. The princess saw what was happening. She rushed to remove the ring and rescued Jack from the first pot. Then Jack fell into the middle pot of ice. Instantly he froze to ice. At that moment the fire phoenix from high above hissed. A feather fell from the sky. The ice melted instantly. Jack flew up into the air. He fell into the last boiling pot of water. The temperature in this boiler was at least 1,000 degrees. A normal person would have been cooked in there. The people on stage thought that Jack was hopeless. Even the princess hid her face and cried. Suddenly there was a flash of light in the sky. A dandelion fell slowly. It turned out that just now, Donkey had run to the end of the world and found this divine flower that controls life and death. Jack slowly rose from the boiler like a god from heaven. The people were cheering and shouting, "Jack is the one!" And the king, seeing this, he lost his head and said he would try too. And as a result, then a huge bubble flew up, and the wary king flew off into the distance, and Jack replaced him. And with the support of the people he became the new king, and lived happily ever after with the princess. Well, that's all for today's story. Thank you for your attention.